Okay, I'm excited. Tell us a
So,
story.
so what I just did is, well, I'll put it back. Last night, my husband and I were heading out for dinner, and we live in a hotel. We literally live in a hotel. And the concierge calls me and says, the Queen is going to go by in her on her delivery to Buckingham Palace. And so literally it was going by the hotel. So we went out and watched that, which was heartwarming. And the concierge actually pulled flowers out of the flower bouquet in the hotel for me to take it, just hold them while we watched her go by. And then today, they were going from 2:22 to 3 o'clock from Buckingham Palace to Westminster. And I tried to get in there to watch it, but you couldn't get in. They'd shut down the roads. You couldn't even get close to it. And apparently 1.5 million more people are coming out here for the funeral.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm sure it's just something to see, right? Like, yeah, it's wow.
She was a person who lived her life with dignity. And when you see and witness in your lifetime that someone who can put service and family and commitments ahead of their own self, she was someone to hold up to, of your values. That's not often you see someone who eats, breathes, lives that commitment. And I put her on a pedestal and still do.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I mean, I would also say that, it's something that I'm sure in terms of like how you put things before other things or how you prioritize which thing is the thing to focus on when, I'm sure it's something you've had to negotiate with yourself and maybe even family over the course of your career.
Yes, of course. It's when you're out there and you have opportunities, and when you're running a company, when you're on television, you've got to make some decisions, and you have to have this value set in your mind of what decision am I going to make at that very second. And it has to be based on your core values. But there's also something that says you got to have fun. So I don't want to live my life where, yes, I make things on values, but I still want to enjoy my moments and do it without excuse. So I'm not upset by having fun. I don't feel like I'm giving up or not doing my duties or giving back because I have fun all the time.
Well, you know what? Let's take it back, Anne, because our question that we love to ask is, you could have been doing anything. You could have been, I always say, sailing the seven seas. You could have been climbing rocks, building buildings in foreign countries. You could have been doing anything that you wanted to do. Why launch a startup when you did?
Well, the startup was kind of, when you stumble on something. So it was my parents, who were all medical doctors that brought me up. They were saying we were going to go to a two-tiered system in Canada. So Canada, we were really lucky to, our medical is paid for. And I thought, now we go to a two-tiered system, who's going to pay the medical bills? And so my thought was, I'm going to start a company that finances medical procedures. But the easiest entry back then was plastic surgery, because everybody's paying out of pocket for plastic surgery. And that was pre lasers, hair removal, pre laser surgeries, pre all these types of technologies like body shaping and all that stuff. And we just happened to enter at the beginning of the cosmetic boom. I was trying to solve a problem and kind of stumbled on starting a company that entered into financing medical procedures and dental and veterinary, and it just built on itself. And yeah, I could have gone anywhere, but I'm driven and a businesswoman. So I just took that company from the startup to something that I never ever expected to grow as big as we were.
On your journey, so I tell my staff, I'm like, as the founder of something, right? As the person that was there from day one, it's almost like when your parents, right, has seen every single age of you. Like they've literally seen, they saw you when you were in the smallest shirt. right?
Yeah.
All the way to feel like you had bigger britches and what you would call smelling yourself because you was getting too grown. Like they've seen every year of your entire life. You now
Yes.
have arrived at a place where you are the one of the wealthiest self-made women in the world. But when you think of yourself and you think of like every year that you spent building this company and
Yeah.
companies that you built beyond that, what type of reflections do you have?
In looking back, I mean, if I were to say to someone, or when I reflect on myself, um, along the way, it was a pathway that you don't lose sight of who you are, and there's no difference between me and the next person in the room. And when I have met somebody, such as I go into Starbucks to get a coffee, I feel it's just as important to treat the person in Starbucks with as much respect as I would want to be treated with from somebody else, and that we are all equal human beings. We might be different in business, but I would be ashamed of myself if I ever treated somebody with disrespect, and I would be ashamed of myself if I ever thought that, if I were to look back in self-reflection, that I ever put myself as more important than another person in the room, if that makes sense. And so I can say that I have tried the best to my ability, and I hope that that is well, that I've lived my life so far just putting things into perspective. Because it's like doing the Housewife show. If you start putting yourself on that you are actually really important, and then when you do something like the Housewife show, you're instantly well known. You're instantly in Canada, instantly people know who you are. If you start to believe that you are some kind of celebrity, you're going to be really disappointed at some point. So you got to get over yourself and just realize you're just a person that people just might recognize, but don't just get over yourself that you think that you're something better, because if you do, you're going to be really disappointed when you start to lose your notoriety, when people stop recognizing you. If you've defined yourself by those kind of being recognized or being wealthy or something, because my mother would say, get over yourself. If I ever talked out of turn, she would say, get over yourself.
I wonder what made you decide to do Housewives? Like, you know what I mean? Like, the epiphany of self-made millionaire, like, and then it's like the Real Housewife. What made you decide that I'm going to do this?
Well, for instance, I did not know I was auditioning for the Housewives. So I was set greenlit. You know, when you have a show that's greenlit, let's say they're going to go on air. I was greenlit for another TV show. And the producer called me up and said, Anne, there's this auditions going on in town. This is in Toronto. And you should go down and audition. But the producer didn't tell me it was the Housewives. And they said, just go and do this audition. You'd be great for it. And so I went down, I did the audition. I kind of figured it was some reality show by the questions. And the questions were things like, if you were going to describe Donald Trump, how would you describe him? And I thought, that's kind of an odd question to ask. And then, these kind of things were where they wanted to see my response. And when I did figure it out, it was a Housewives. And when I did get on the show, I actually embraced it. I thought, what fun. Where else in your life could you do a reality show like that? And I think I was the only person that never, ever once did I say, can we do a retake? It was looking at yourself on a reality show is like looking in the mirror and seeing all your flaws, all the things that people see in you. It's not you. When you see it on a reality show, you're like, I didn't know I was like that. And it's like, oh my goodness, you better like yourself before you do a reality show, because you're not going to like what you see. So I'm looking like, I didn't know I was like that. I didn't know that my extensions were going to be showing or something like that. Like, you're looking at it like that. And so women, we all look at that. How was my hair? Like, you could have the most tearful moment. You could run into your ex-husband, and the main thing that would go through a woman's head is, how do I look? Not like anything else. And then same thing with when you run into your exes and he's with someone else, do I look better than them? Like, we have funny ways of thinking of ourselves in the same way as when you see yourself on TV. I had so much fun doing that show. It was another experience. I work in finance. I'm in books all day. I'm in it's marketing all day, in developing technology. I'm doing those kind of things in finance. I'm not doing TV shows. How much fun is doing a TV show compared to being a businesswoman? So I would take TV any day, any day.
Well, what do you think about, because, being who you are, being what you've built, right? The idea of housewife, right? Which kind of speaks to like this, like, well, the husband was out doing some type of building and the woman was not. And on the shows, on all the shows, there's some women who have businesses, but there's only a few that are they're really broken out as like bigger, sustainable businesses with rhythm and customers and employees. And like, there's not a lot of them that have really great success. So like, you don't in some ways feel even comparable in a way that would be a part of that. Like, did you ever for a second be like, is this where I should be?
Yes. Good question. So I would say things to them like, I do run a business. I do work. And they go, put the gown on, put the gown on. You're going to have this scene today. We're going to be going out on a yacht today. It's like, but I do work. I do have kids because as you may know, I have 6 kids. And so I do work, and they, no, put the gown on. And it was out of my element to be portrayed as somebody who just dressed up but again, it's still interacting with people. Maybe I never would have met these women that were on the show because I didn't know them. And I ended up building friendships with them. And it brought me into a world I wasn't familiar with because I'm more a mom and I'm not a housewife. I'm a mother and I'm a businesswoman and I have a husband. And unusual, I like my husband. And so,
Right.
yeah. So it was something different that I wasn't used to because they were just looking at me as business meaning housewife business.
I love that. Thank you for your honesty and thank you for sharing that. You have 6 children. I have 3. Takia has 3, and we both have building businesses. Our audience is a pool of people who are building businesses as well. Along your journey, what kind of trade-offs have you had to make in between? Like, I want to really have a quality of life with my children and my husband, and like I also am building this $1 billion business. What kind of trade-offs have you had to make?
Well, sometimes when people ask how do you do it, how do you get the family and the business and all that kind of thing, my response is it's not easy. It is not easy. So I had to get up very, very early in the morning, and I would schedule time. All the time was scheduled. Time when I would be studying, time when I would be going to work. I'd drive my kids to school, and then I would go to the office. So I'd arrive at the office, say 9:00, and then I'd be at the office till 5, which means I couldn't make dinner necessarily. I couldn't go always to their after school activities. There were trade-offs that you had to have, but you can't feel guilty about it. The really important activities, like their parent-teacher interviews, their soccer games, watching them in karate, all those kind of things, I made those ones. I got to those, but I couldn't go to every single thing, and especially with 6 kids. And then my husband would get home late and I'd have dinner with him. So I wouldn't necessarily eat with my kids on weeknights, but I'd cook, but I'd wait and have dinner with my husband because he worked late.
I love, one of the things I really am enjoying about just listening to you talk about your journey is I love the level of optimism and the level of like, we can do this. We can figure this out. Okay, got that. And I think that's a muscle that we build over time with building a business. Were you in finance before building a finance company? Were you in tech before?
I wasn't in tech or finance. I started the company to solve a problem. So anyone who wants to build a company, it's really about solving a problem and figuring out how you can solve that problem for other people. So there was that, as I was saying, there was a need for financing of medical procedures. I was solving that problem. I was bringing the financing, but I was not in finance. I did my doctorate in finance after I started the company. Mm-hmm. So I did my MBA, my Master's of Science, and my doctorate and my corporate governance degrees after I started the company. So while with the kids and all of that, I did those after. And that was important to me that was a personal journey that I wanted to achieve. It wasn't, you have to do this. So I guess it's kind of not knowing what you're doing and then figuring it out is probably the best way to learn rather than starting in finance, because academics don't think the same way as entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
Academics don't think like business people. So I don't think I would have been risky enough or just figure out I'm going to solve a problem if I was an academic first.
No, I think that's right. And then we have this amazing fashion sense. So at what this is the part we get excited about, because we are all things. So Takia is a amazing makeup artist and a beauty professional, and me, I just like to put on cute stuff. That's it. So at what point in this journey were you always just like, I love fashion, but I'll get to it at some point, or like how did it bake in as you're building this finance company that is in the medical world, by the way, everybody? So it's a finance company, but it's in the world of medicine and becoming this whole fashion icon at the same time. How did those things come together?
So when you said that, Takia said when you said you just like to put on cute stuff, Takia, why did you roll your eyes back? Why did you start laughing?
Because Omi loves more than just putting on cute stuff. Like, like she really does have an affinity for fashion and what she likes and what she doesn't like. And a lot of times I find that women are hard on themselves when it comes to fashion, because we think that we're supposed to look a certain way. You know what I mean? Or we're supposed to have a certain thing, or fashion looks like this. And the beauty of fashion is that you can make it whatever you want to. Like, fashion is you. Yeah. And so I'm just excited because I'm ready for you to tell us what's happening.
So fashion is you. Now there's a difference between fashion and style, but let's say it's the same thing. And I went on Entertainment Tonight and I went in the washroom before I was going on air. And I took the clothes that I was wearing and I brought with me a black plastic bag. And I put the garbage bag on, cinched the waist, and wore high-heeled Elias shoes. And I went out and did an interview in a garbage bag. And they didn't know it was a garbage bag. Now, was I in fashion or not? And then I started to think, I don't want clothes to wear me. I want to wear clothes. So on the cover of a magazine, they said they were shooting the magazine, I think, in October, and it was for a December cover. And they said they wanted me to wear something fashion forward. And I said, in December, I don't know what's going to be fashion forward, because somebody could do something like Kate Middleton or someone like that could wear something really bizarre. And that changes the fashion. There's influences out there that happen very quickly that changes our idea of what's current in fashion. Like right now, applique flowers all over your clothes and things like that. That could change at Christmas. So what I did was at the December time, I got a plant and I wrapped the plant around me. So I went dressed in a plant, like a tree around me, and with shoulders showing. And I went on the cover of the magazine with just leaves sticking up. And I thought, there's no fashion designer in that, but can we not make leaves look really good if we want to? And then inside the magazine, I wrapped the burlap sack around me and I did a whole gown in a burlap sack and makeup and hair done. But I thought, well, you can rock anything if you want to. And so you start to realize that it's not what you're wearing, it's how you're wearing it, how you're portraying yourself, and how confident you are in it. And I did a photo shoot the other day, and it was in this place that is being torn down. And they had all this kind of red tape on the ground that was wrapped around to, taping off things. So I unpeeled the red tape and I wore it as a top. I wrapped it around. Kind of like Kim Kardashian did with Balenciaga. I wrapped the tape around me from the floor and wore that as a top. So they didn't say, are you wearing tape? They just did all the photographs and I've got the tape wrapped around me. So to me, wearing clothes is really expressing yourself, and it doesn't have to say, it can say, I'm wearing this designer, I'm wearing this European designer, etc. but I'd rather say, I'm expressing myself and I just want to be fun sometimes. Sure, but maybe you could balance it off with a great pair of shoes that is a well-known designer or one that everybody recognizes, or you don't do that. I've taken shoes and I've glue gunned little gems on them because I want to change the look of shoes. I've taken a sweater and changed the buttons to colored buttons to change the look of the sweater. And to me, that's fashion.
Break it down for us, style versus fashion, right? Because I think what you're speaking to is, I would have said you styled a garbage bag, right? And then the result of you styling the garbage bag with the shoes, with the items, with the thing is now what could be viewed as fashion, but I could be all wrong. So I'm curious, like, break it down for us. Style versus that fashion. And I think in fashion you get styled. So I'm kind of like, where are we?
Well, style is how you style yourself. That's who you are. And you could be in fashion or not in fashion, arguably. But if you have your own style, do you have to follow a trend? I think fashion is more what's trending right now. And funny, there was I put myself on when I was on, I still am on Instagram. And another housewife went on Instagram and she said, Anne has really bad style and has a really bad sense of style. And I responded saying, I didn't even know I had a sense of style. So thank you very much. I'd rather have a bad one than none. So well, you're laughing because that's how we should think of ourselves. We're who we are. And that's the beauty of how some of these movements have taken us to say, I'm celebrating me. And if I want to celebrate me, I'm going to wear what I want to wear. And unashamedly, I'm not going to say someone's going to tell me who to wear, what to wear. And if I want to wear a ball gown, I'll wear a ball gown. If I want to, I've tattooed on my back, fake tattooed on my back to get the message across. So my skin becomes my message too. So I think we don't have to. Our style could be a t-shirt and jeans. And I think Jennifer Aniston does that a lot. She doesn't, she probably opens her closet and goes, should I wear the white t-shirt and jeans or the other white t-shirt and jeans? Like she probably has two things in her closet. That's it. Like she's just not somebody who really runs after designer clothes or tries to make statements and things like that. Where Jennifer Lopez would be someone who just really is so fashion forward. Jennifer Lopez is someone to use as a good example because she looks at not just the outfit she's wearing. If you notice, she matches her hair, her makeup, her earrings, her shoes, her expression. She's always matching everything, like styling her whole look. And I make the same mistake. It doesn't matter what I'm wearing. I still do my makeup the same. I'm not thinking that maybe I should just do a different look with each outfit that I'm wearing. And that's an opportunity to pull your hair back really tight, to add extensions, to do something that makes you match your outfit. So I really get into fashion and styling myself or doing my fashion line with looking at do anything you want.
Do anything. Where did this freedom come from? Right? Like, were you born with it? Did you just walk out the womb saying, I'm going to be all that I want? Is it something that was instilled to you from parents? Like over the course of your journey, failing and getting back up, if you had those experiences, like where does this sense of freedom that you currently have and that you walk in daily, which is awesome and admirable, where did that come from?
Well, I'll tell you, and it's a sad story if you want to hear. When I was younger, my parents told me, because I'm the only Asian person in our family, that I was adopted because my sisters are all blonde. So when I was about 12 or 13, my mother sat me down and she said, I want to tell you something. And she said, you're not adopted, you're my daughter. And so my mother had done that sort of reverse. You remember the movie with Steve Martin, The Jerk? And she did the reverse one. She told me I was adopted rather than telling me I wasn't. And which made sense because I'm Asian, but she had gone to Hawaii and she had an affair with an Asian entertainer. So my father that brought me up she was married to him at the time. They went to this hotel in Hawaii and the fellow was playing the piano. And my dad said, "Why don't you stay and enjoy another week in Hawaii? I'll go back to Canada." And he said to the piano player, "I'm leaving, take care of my wife."
Oh no.
And the piano player did. So I was conceived by this entertainer in Hawaii. As I got older, I realized that there was a lot of animosity between the parents that brought me up. And I thought, this is their problem. This isn't my problem. Because they had that issue is not going to be my problem in life. So the benefit I had, which is a sad benefit, is that on the father that brought me up, on his side of the family, there was some illness. And I didn't get the genes to get that illness. So I was brought up where my sisters were quite ill, and I would go to the hospital and I would see them. I was young, and I would go see my sisters and help out. And one day my mother said, I was about 17, she said, "I want you to leave and I never want you to come back." She said, "Leave this town, do not return." And I knew my mother did not want me burdened by looking after my sisters who were in the hospital. She wanted me to have a life. 17-year-old girl, go get a life. And I vowed from that day that I would phone my mother every day and tell her how happy I was. And my goal, and I would say this to anyone, is the greatest gift you can give your family and all those kids that are real schmucks, the greatest gift you can give is to the power of being a happy person. Because life deals a lot of really crappy stuff. But if you can give joy to someone by just your pure happiness, and I gave my mom, who devoted her life to looking after her children, which were not well, I gave my mom that freedom by just saying, yes, I'm going to go and I'm going to live a life of happiness. She couldn't care less if I became a doctor or what. She wanted a happy kid. And so that's what I gave her. And ever since then, I've just been this free spirit, and just, I think of myself as just like a hippie, like I'm a free spirit. I don't know if that's a definition of a hippie, but I'm just happy. And I find almost everything funny. So because there's life and then there's death and there's all the stuff in between is absolutely hilarious. So work hard and get a sense of humor. So that's kind of, I think, where all this just free spiritedness and all that stuff came from, is just not belonging, but realizing that's other people's problems when they don't let you belong. That's other people's problems, not mine. It's not my fault that people don't accept me in places. It's their problem.
Wow. You know what? Thank you so much for sharing it with us. That's the next book title. There's life and there's death and everything else in between is hilarious. Like, that is a great book title. I would definitely read that. You know what? Thank you so much. Like, I'm inspired by that. I really appreciate you for telling us that story about your life. And that is exceptional when you break it down, because of the way that, like, this thing that happened that may have seemed like between your parents' marriage like a huge misstep, but end up creating this really exceptional person and this entire life, which honestly pays homage to and gives back to the family where your sisters had this that were ill. Like that is like so just wow to me when I think about that from a universe. Like I'm a spiritual person. So I think about it from the way the universe works in this, like the way that your mom would have had to deal with the hardship of all of her children potentially being ill. The universe kind of gave her this gem. And I mean, like, even though like in the circumstances, it doesn't feel like that, right? Like during that time, because it's, it's an affair. So there's lots of things that break down emotionally from that. But who knows what her prayers were? Like, and anyway, I could go on because that just got me hyped, because I'm like, she probably was praying for something. And the universe was like, okay, I got you. Right. But then it came in this way, that they could not have predicted at that time, to say, okay, well, this is a part of this lineage, but I'm going to also give you this other piece of your lineage that can bring more joy to you, to your family, to the world. And so thank you for answering the call and, following your mom's, go have a life, and then giving back to her that level of joy, because you and what the universe gave in you was an answered prayer for her.
Oh, that's really sweet. That makes me feel good, because it makes me think about her. So thank you so much for that. And Takia, thanks. I love watching your eyes, because
I emote in my face. That's what it is. I just emote, and you're so amazing. So I've just been listening and taking it all in and learning. And it's always good to meet a woman who took her life in her own hands. You know what I mean? And said, listen, these are the things that I'm going to do. And I'm going to do it unapologetically. I'm going to do it with my flair, what I have to bring. And I'm not going to make listen, you're going to take this. And so it was really good to just listen to this amazing story in your journey. It's awesome.
Well, you guys seem that you're right on to this unapologetic lifestyle. We have to do that. We have to be ourselves without apology.
Yes,
so,
yes.
Thank you for that.
100%. Thank you so much for joining us on the Omi Show. That is our time. We could talk to you all day and all night, get drinks or something. Like you are now an Omi homie. Okay. We appreciate you.